All right, 12:02. Yep. There we go. And we're live. Yes, yes, and yes. Here we go. Who do I see? There's the August goal. There's Jane Rice. There's Kevin. Folks, nice. What a day. This could be the pick day of the week. Yes, indeed. Yep. No denying that this may be actually one of the better weather days. So there's Kathy. There's everybody. Yep. What a nice afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Hola. Yep. There's Andrea Lemire. You know, it's always better when Andrea Lemire is here. When Andrea Lemire is here, it's always better when Andrea Lemire is here. Good afternoon, Pat. Yes, yes, yes. We're live in just 3 minutes. I can't believe there's Dennis O'Reilly. Wait a minute. I didn't know. There's Nancy McCormick. I didn't know Dennis was going to be here. No one told me that. Nope. That part they left out. No one told me. I don't know why. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'll tell you that much. Yep. You can be sure of that. Folks, remember, we have great merchandise in the shop at depetro.com. Look how great that looks. Road Patrol Live hat is available. Look how beautiful that is. And other merchandise as well, as it's Mug Monday in the shop. And by the way, I'm not going to go on and on about the boxer, but it's a man. Okay? Period. End of story. Enough of this foolishness. So there's a reason why that individual was failing. Then they were born with too much testosterone. And on top of that, that person has, for lack of a better word, a unit. So this whole business of that, it's not a, I don't want to say it. That person is not, it's more male than female. Period. End of story. So all of this foolishness going on and on. These people, she was born a female and raised, well, yeah, but with the genetics of the genetics. Hold on, I have to put on, I wasn't going to, but we're going to put on the air conditioner. It's a little warmer than I thought. I don't care how someone was raised. It's what their body is, and that person, by all accounts, and all these people that are going on and on about it, it's ridiculous, is what it is. So yes, we're going to begin in just a moment. We're going to wait for JR, folks. Again, we are right now, believe it or not, we are ready to go live on the radio, AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Can you listen online at the website, depetro.com? Yes, yes. Also, we're live on Facebook and X and YouTube as our platforms continue to grow. We're going to be live in just a moment, momentarily, as a matter of fact. We are standing by, and we are live on this. What a beautiful Monday, folks. Good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePetro Show. It's AM 1380. It's 99.9 FM. It's 12:06 on this Monday, August 5th. And this portion of our program, it's brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, they're having a fantastic season. I can't say that I'm surprised, because they grind it and they work hard and it delivers. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane, North Kingstown. Steve, Debbie, Jr., and Byron right now. Now, I popped in yesterday. It's never looked better. And they're working through. It was pretty muggy, humid yesterday, but they have beautiful, locally sourced vegetables, sweet corn, native tomatoes, you name it. And you could pop in. They're right off of Route 4. Maybe you're coming back from the South County beaches or want to just take a ride over there. Now, they also have everything. Remember, They are, in fact, a full-scale nursery, and I consider them to be Rhode Island's #1 garden center. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. They still have a large selection, beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants, and herbs. Make sure you mention the program when you pop in. They're open 7 days a week, and they also do, I meant to check, they do a very good job on their Facebook page, because what I find is, and I always like to tell them that, because they really bring it to life, so to speak. Not everyone does that. Their tomato basil, look at the tomatoes that they have. They have it all. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Well, folks, as always, visit depetro.com. Remember, you can listen online there. Plus, we have links to all of our social media. It's a happening. And you can listen. By the way, it's so crystal clear. Plus, we have all the stories regarding, we broke that story about the male nurse. It's pretty frightening when you think about it. North Kingstown doing that to male patients. What I still think is the story about that is just the fact that the Board of Health, the Rhode Island Department of Health, allowed him to continue to be working, which I find very odd. But you can check it all out at depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. I was just there a week ago at the Coesit Inn, and they were having a nice gathering for the Brandy Project. No one does more for animals than the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They have the market at Coesit. And listen, the Coesit Inn is a very good-sized restaurant, so they can handle different type of gatherings. They're open 7 days a week, and I tout them for a variety of different things. They have different rooms that they can block you off into. And then on top of that, it really is a great spot for that collation lunch. The collation is someone has passed away, and then afterwards, the family, they want to gather after whatever, the mass or the burial at the cemetery. Where are you going to go? Well, the Coesit Inn can handle a pretty good sized group, as I've said. I've been there when they have for 30 people, for 40 people, 60 people, 80 people, 100 people. They could fit 150 people. The Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue in West Warwick. Now, folks, on this lunchtime, and we want to stay up to speed, this is the real news at noon. And something that I am watching right now, as everyone is the big story that we're going to continue to watch is the situation regarding Vice President Harris and who she's going to pick to be her VP selection. So, we'll continue to monitor that. And that's obviously going to be a big story. And you have to be objective. This is going to be a big month for the Harris campaign. It just is. You also see, I think what this really shows is how much the Democrats actually really wanted to get rid of President Biden, and how they weren't transparent about it and what was his actual condition. So for me, a lot of the giddiness towards Harris, this is still the honeymoon period, and they're going to build it up big, and she'll have a couple of good days this week. Then they have the convention at the end of the month. So who do I think? I mean, by all accounts, I think at this point, if you look at it, notice there hasn't been anything more about former Governor, Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. I never saw that. The Harris people, to me, they came out. They had a very good short list of who they were thinking of. And then they allowed a couple of people to kind of penetrate that and enter the list with the former Mayor Pete and then also the governor of Minnesota. But it still seems to come down to the governor of Pennsylvania and also the senator from Arizona. So by all accounts right now, it almost seems to me, I think people will actually be surprised if it's not the governor of Pennsylvania. He is, regardless of what people think, he is popular in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a very important state, this Governor Shapiro. He has a high approval rating in Pennsylvania. He also, as I have talked about last fall, when there was a Jewish deli under attack, he went and had lunch there the next day. So you can't, plus he's Jewish, you can't hang the anti-Semitism that the left, they want that. And a big part of the Democrat Party is, but he's not one of the people. Something else about him, apparently, is he's big on charter schools. And as a result of that, he is certainly not a darling of the teachers' unions. But despite that, because of the short window, and they're kicking off tomorrow in Philadelphia. So Harris, from what we understand, she spent yesterday meeting with the final three, which is the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, and then also the governor of Minnesota. And from what we understand, and it would make sense, it's then just going to come down to like a vibe and how they kind of gel together. And he went to Georgetown Law, and he's also younger than her, which is interesting. But that's who, and different people have been throwing out various conspiracy things of who she would choose. Tomorrow, I think we're going to find out. I agree with those. And I thought it right away. It would be odd. They're going to kick this thing off. Then the two of them are going to barnstorm and go to some different battleground states. If she was going to select someone else, now it could still, maybe something came up. Maybe they vetted him and something came up. Maybe something came up with his, we don't know that. But it does seem to be those three. And then they're going to go around the country and try to convince everyone. I don't buy the whole Harris thing. I don't think I'm not saying the people in Trump world are panicking. They certainly should not panic, because with all the excitement and democracy on the ballot and all of this, the issues that she's trying to raise. And I'll also say the Trump people, they want to throw out that she's biracial, and she always was trying to she did go to Howard, I believe, from what I understand, but trying to pass her off as actually more of her Asian heritage. But I don't think that's the winning message, so to speak. What I think is really the win here is what's happening right now in real time, which is Israel braces for Iranian attack that could come within hours. Tehran warns pilots to avoid airspace. Pentagon deploys ships and fighters. So this could be Biden heading to the Situation Room. Biden scolds Netanyahu in hostage talk. Reservists confront toll of protracted battle. Travelers rush to leave Lebanon. Now, what you really have is right now, this seemingly is about to be potentially real war with Israel and Iran. And that is, Israel's our ally. So to me, that is more damaging and now it's going to be Biden-Harris. But this is the issue that is going on. But the real issue that I believe President Trump should lean into, stocks tumble around the world. The Dow's down 800, biggest rout since Black Monday. Magnificent Seven shed 1 trillion. Recession odds climb. Emergency rate cut trading platforms crushed. In the first hour, I played some of the sound of that. All of the social media, Facebook and Apple took a pounding. To me, what's going to motivate and win the election for President Trump, yes, the border is important. Yes, it is. But what's really going to is the cost of things and recession. It was a lousy jobs report. Harris, Biden are not built. She's going to be heading into this when you have the market collapsing and then recession now, talk of recession coming in. To me, that's what President Trump should lean into. Now, I do want to touch on how that's going to impact people in our area specifically. But before we do that, folks, Valari Motors, new sponsor of the program. Paul is the real deal. and I am so proud. They specialize in Volvo sales and service, quality pre-owned vehicles, largest selection of Volvos in Rhode Island, and they're right there on Park Avenue in Cranston. Valari Motors, New England's number one dealer in pre-owned Volvo sales and service. 27 years, specialized Volvo sales and service. Where are they located? 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. You come right off of Park and Reservoir, go up. There they are. Paul, let me tell you, you can call them at 401 942 9568. Valari Motors. Paul is the type of person you want to do business with, reputable, knowledgeable. So many people know him as Paul of, like, literally, Paul Stakevich is basically known as Paul Volvo in Cranston. Valari Motors. You're thinking, hey, the brand speaks for itself. And by the way, they have other brands as well. But what they specialize in is Volvos. Valari Motors. Great prices, great vehicles, fantastic service. Valari Motors in Cranston, right in the heart of Cranston. 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. You can find them on Facebook and then also online. Valari Motors, VOLARE Motors.com. But to me, what really makes the business is Paul, the owner. This is dedicated, knowledgeable business person. He's going to put you and your family in the right vehicle that makes sense. And their service is so tremendous. A pre-owned vehicle, remember, pre-owned vehicles today, if anything, by the time you're riding it, maybe some of these vehicles, they've had almost like the bugs worked out a little bit. Great prices, great vehicles, great service. Valari Motors in Cranston, 1003 Park Avenue. Pop in and see Paul, and you can call them at 401 942 9568. He has such a following. So many people that have done business with Paul, and Paul's the type of person you want to do business with. It's Valari Motors. Well, folks, good afternoon. Now, right now, we are going to track with what's happening at 12:20 on this Monday with the, I think these polls that are close, they're going to try full-fledged going after President Trump. But what they can't handle is the economy and the markets and where the jobs reports are going. Harris, it's an uncontrollable force. And by the way, if you go back to 1992, it is true that the market under President Bush, who should have gotten a second term, Bush 41, Herbert Walker should have gotten a second term. When you think about, you had the great boom of the 80s with Reagan, and then you had President Bush 1 in 88, and then there was a glitch in the economy. He should have gotten that second term. Now, there were two factors that people don't talk about. Number one, the economy took a slight dip, but the thing that really was his undoing was Ross Perot. And the percentage of votes he got, the people that voted for Ross Perot would have voted for Bush. When Clinton rode the dot-com boom of the mid-90s, when things rocketed and took off, that really was the work of Reagan from the 80s and then Bush. It really should have been his. But with this, as we've seen, one thing about Harris, she is the wrong person for something like this. She still hasn't done an interview. Now, right now, it's 12:21 on this Monday, August 5th. The vice president, she's not great. You know what she wants to talk? She wants to talk about abortion. She wants to talk about, the burden unburden. See what can't be seen. Do what can't be done. What does that mean? Are we to believe that Vice President Harris is the right type of tools and mechanisms to quiet the markets and talk to Wall Street? And no, Absolutely not. What's interesting? Actually would be good in this situation would be Raimondo, but she's not on the ticket. She's not on the stage. And despite what you hear, I don't, well, first of all, I don't think Harris is going to win. I don't think she's going to win. But right now, she is not equipped to handle and talk about how do you talk about we want to keep great things going when things are diving. Now, listen, like everyone else, I mean, I don't want to see the market tank. I don't want to see everything start to go into that. I don't like the idea of the word recession. I want to tell you about where Rhode Island would come out on that, by the way, in just a moment. Folks, I also want to remind you, if you're thinking of doing any type of remodeling, AJ Home Improvement, call them today, 401-323-9252. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling. They can do it all. If you're thinking of remodeling your home or business, give them a call. Let them pitch your business. 401-323-9252. Hey, fresh coats of paint change the entire dynamic of a home. AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. So right now, and again, you don't want to panic anybody, and there are some businesses that are doing very well. And the housing market, I think a lot of people can agree, has been in need of a correction. I think a lot of people, especially in Rhode Island, where there's been no new home construction, where they're not built, essentially, they had that Stefan Pryor, total political hack, put him in there. McKee doesn't know how to do home development. McKee really doesn't know how to do anything. But let me tell you, if you hear about recession nationwide, worldwide, I mean, if there's one place that is not built or equipped to handle a recession, it would be Woonsocket to Westerly. Because Governor McKee, look at what has happened. I mean, that he has basically transformed the state into a welfare state. He has overtaxed, overserviced, keeps adding state jobs. As soon as I mean, there are so many different examples to point to, whether it be the Providence teachers, that he gave them bonuses to try to buy their votes. And as soon as the COVID money dries up, boom, they cut the school day by a half hour. He continues to hire all these state workers. He can't even get anyone to bid on the blanking bridge. He is so reliant. Governor McKee is so reliant on federal aid. And you're looking at possibly a Trump administration where they could easily, the Department of Transportation under a new president, and by the way, there's no guarantee with Harris either, but if you have Harris Shapiro, they're not tied in. McKee wouldn't be tied in with, he backed Biden. Harris was running. He could have backed her. He backed Biden. So let's just go with that. If it's Harris Shapiro, I don't think they're going to win. But if it was, get in line. And on top of that, I am telling you, there's no love between Harris and Raimondo. Not going to help Rhode Island. There's no connection with Harris. First of all, I don't think she's going to win anyway. The economy will play to the strengths of President Trump with his ability to work with Wall Street and manage the economy. And so much of it comes back to that. Harris isn't equipped on something like that. So Governor McKee, how would Rhode Island fare if suddenly the amount of money getting from the federal government was cut by $2 billion? I mean, start the layoffs at the Rhode Island State House with the state workers. But on top of that, under Governor McKee, they have absolutely declared war on all private business. Governor McKee is what you need to realize, and the media, I don't blame people for not realizing that because the media doesn't focus on it. but it's the most business unfriendly administration we've had maybe since Chafee. Maybe since Chafee, where CVS thought so little of him that when they were expanding, and Chafee said, we're going to do eds and meds, that when CVS was expanding based in Rhode Island, they didn't even call him, and they cut a deal to go in Boston. Governor Kacheri was business friendly. Governor Allman, you go back to Rhode Island Governor Link Allman, he was honest. He let Harwood do too much, but at least there was no corruption necessarily under him. Governor Kacheri was very business friendly. And then say what you want, Raimondo, she could certainly talk that game. She was trying to lure private business, private companies to come in. Chafee was not friendly to business. And the only person less friendly is McKee. McKee is basically like a union puppet stooge who is so not equipped. You start cutting off and peeling back all of this federal money that they've been getting and forget about it. Who do you go to? Look at the problem, and I want to touch on it, but look at the problem with Waterfire. Waterfire, really, in order to do something like Waterfire, you're dependent. There are certain, the arts are always dependent on the generosity of private business and their donations. Look at the PPAC. Look at the PPAC that, their big sponsor is John Hazenwhite and Taco Industries. That's who, donates. And that's just the way it works. Businesses bring philanthropy. There's nothing wrong with people earning money. There's nothing wrong with people becoming wealthy. In McKees, Rhode Island, they try to chase them all off. They try to scare them off. And as we talked about last week, last week was a devastating week with Rhode Island losing a lot of jobs. And you don't hear any talk about replacing the company. The mayor of East Providence says, we'll try to help the people losing the jobs to get new jobs. But he doesn't say, we're going to change policy to make the state more friendly, that people, the company in East Providence that they're losing the jobs, they're consolidating to New Jersey. But notice McKee and Company, they don't try to change the state policy to try to get states that have a presence in other states consolidate into Rhode Island. You don't hear about that. So Governor McKee can say, okay, well, it's only 300 jobs, but you don't have 300 new jobs coming in. Everybody can't work for a city or town. We're overtaxed as it is. They have set up a welfare system. Folks, this portion of our program. Now, I want to remind you, if you're thinking of getting a new fence, maybe you're thinking about having a fence installed, fenceri.com. Give them a call. The most Rhode Island name, 401-732-0555. Fenceri.com. The premier fence and deck contractor. Quality, communication, value. Remember, when you go with fenceri.com and just call them, put them in the mix, 401-732-0555. $200 discount if you mention our program. Wood deck construction, licensed and insured, 5-star rating from Google. It's fenceri.com. Find them online at fenceri.com or call 401-732-0555. Find them on Facebook, and then their website is fenceri.com. Whether it is for you're getting a pet or maybe you want more privacy, don't underestimate security as well. A fence around your home or business. Fenceri.com. Well, folks, good afternoon at 12:31. You're listening to the John DePietro Show on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, something else that has to be considered. Now, again, I, like all of you, I want the economy to thrive. And I want everyone to, have a job and be employed. But I refuse to. Okay, now this is big. Wow. Vice President Poole narrows to Shapiro and Walz. This is new that this is coming across. So is she actually going to go with, maybe she is going to go with the governor of Minnesota? The governor of Minnesota. So this is breaking, and this is someone reputable. White House correspondent for Reuters. Harris Vice President pool narrows to Shapiro Walz. Now, if you remember, or maybe you didn't realize, but if you caught the news yesterday, that senator from Arizona, Kelly, the astronaut, he put out a tweet saying, I am focused and dedicated to the people of Arizona. Basically, it sounds like he didn't get the nod. So, but this guy from, let me just pull up this Governor Walz. He's getting, I mean, I'm really not that familiar with him other than he is a total union. Governor Walz. Yep. Governor of Minnesota. He's 60 years old. So he's basically her age. She's 59. Tim Walz of governor, 60 years old. Let me just read. I don't really know much about him. No, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Let me just pull up. Who is Tim Walz, the governor who could be the. Who is Governor Tim Walz, Harris VP pick? The governor's delivered progressive policies in the state and has a history of swaying Republican districts. Minnesota's governor captured the internet's attention, swayed messaging, how he's the one. Oh, okay. He started saying the Republicans are weird. Potential pick. He's been able to run through a list of what they want, blah, blah, blah. He was raised in Nebraska. He was a teacher. He became a teacher first in China, then in Nebraska, and then in Minnesota. Taught geography. He coached the high school football team. He was the faculty advisor for the school's first Gay-Straight Alliance in 1999. He served in the Army National Guard for 24 years, enlisted at age 17. Took him around the country on a deployment to Europe. Let me see. He comes across straight-talking teacher, American youth football coach. Here's how he's described. He's right out of central casting, the way you would think of a Minnesota governor would be like. He first ran for office in 2006 in a Republican-leading congressional district, knocking off the incumbent in upset. He kept it till 2016, dispatching Republicans over and over. In 2018, he ran for governor and won, then defended the seat, and he won in 2022. So he's another one. He's got nothing to lose. He's still the governor. He's the chair of the Democrat Governors Association, giving him a national profile. His appearances in recent weeks have taken off, putting him on the VP shortlist. In Minnesota, Democrats secured a narrow government trifecta, both chambers of the legislature and the governorship, and delivered a laundry list of progressive policies, free school meals, abortion protection, gun restrictions, legal marijuana. If Democrats want to see what their party governing would look like, Minnesota is the example. But the policies would be too liberal for the national stage. One TV interviewer posed, what a monster. Kids are eating, having full bellies. They go and learn. Boom, boom, boom. They pointed to a speech he gave. Trump came to Minnesota. Walz was dressed down like a Midwestern dad. Camo hat, T-shirt, down to earth. He might run for vice president, or he might clean out the garage. I know that Walz mentioned Minnesota ranked in the top 3 for happiest states in the nation. I know there's big union ties here too, though. So now again, like everyone else, I don't really know a lot about them. They're about the same age. And then I know that he is progressives in Minnesota. They've clashed with Walz on policy, still rooting for him. Positions on guns. Walz is a gun owner and a hunter. That's different. Received endorsements and donations from the NRA. He has an A rating from the NRA. but he shifted. He gave donations from the group to charity after after Las Vegas. He signed bills into law, restrict guns. Now he has an F rating from the NRA. All right, let's stay up to date. Biggest drawback for Waltz is his geography. Minnesota is not a swing state, though Trump has said he thinks he can win it. Biden being replaced on the top of the ticket takes the state out of contention. Obviously, the George Floyd stuff. Let me just see. Again, this is that governor of. No one called Trump weird until Tim Waltz did, and it resonated for a reason. Let me just see. I know. So, so much of this comes down to. All right, so this is different. Top contender, Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz is no longer traveling to New Hampshire. After schedule change, Minnesota Democrat Governor Tim Waltz, who's emerged as a top contender, no longer traveled to New Hampshire. He was supposed to go for the weekend. Well, instead, he spent the weekend interviewing for it. And I know, I want to just put in labor, because I know that he is a big labor guy. And popular candidate. Oh, very popular among labor unions. Okay. Maybe it is going to be him. Maybe it's very possible that 1239. It's very possible that they feel that Shapiro could deliver Pennsylvania for them. So if they feel, who knows with Harris, maybe if they feel that he could already deliver Pennsylvania, that if they have him and then with his help they can get Pennsylvania, then maybe she goes for someone she might be more comfortable with. Again, if you take Harris out of the mix, just someone selecting a VP. Now, it does seem to, they say, go to who the person just feels comfortable with. Who the person feels comfortable with, you get him in the room. And folks, you recognize that when you're meeting people, you're working with people. If you've ever had a situation where sometimes, and it's happened to me, you meet somebody and you instantly click. And when it's real, you both kind of feel that way. You both kind of resonate that way. It can happen. I'm trying to think. In my career, it's been a couple people, but there have been people that when I met them, boom, we just clicked, and you just knew that this was someone you wanted to work with or for. And it can be both, by the way. So, it's tough judging. They put her in a room and she's sitting with Shapiro. How does that go compared to this governor of Minnesota? But God bless me, this governor of Minnesota, that would be interesting. Listen, the guy seems, I don't know anything about him. I didn't until you start to read about it. Former teacher, he was a high school football coach. He's definitely different, certainly sounds maybe like he's not Raimondo, that's for sure. So we're going to find out, but it sounds like it could break in any day. Now, I want to come back to what this means for Rhode Island, by the way, but I want to remind you about Kim asked me about Kim's thinking of getting a new roof, about Royal Exteriors and siding. Kim, call Andrew at Royal Exteriors, 401-533-9989. 401-533-9989. Royal Exteriors. Remember, where the customer is king or queen. Free estimate, Royal Exteriors, 401-533-9989. With Royal Exteriors, Andrew, fantastic. And what a difference it makes for your home. If you don't have proper roofing or siding, a lot of things can go wrong. It's not going to happen with Royal Exteriors. Call them today, 401-533-9989. 9989, 401 533 9989. Royal Exteriors. Look for them on Facebook and then always online at royalexteriorsri.com. Now, folks, good afternoon at 12:42 on this Monday, August 5th. Right now, it sounds as if the VP selection for Harris is down to the governor of Pennsylvania or the governor of Minnesota. It sure sounds as though it is down to those. Um, that Captain Mark Kelly, the senator, he deleted a tweet saying, "My mission is serving the people of Arizona." That basically means, oh, okay, I found out today that I'm not going to get it. I don't know. It's so tough to figure out who they're going to. But let's go through some of the headlines right now locally. Stocks plunge amid weak jobs report, and especially with some of the social media companies. Flights canceled at TF Green. Debbie wallops the South. Boy, there's a lot of rain in the South right now. And if you heard about in Georgia, how the amount of rain that they're going to be receiving down there, if you've seen it, is very, very dramatic, as a matter of fact. And it sounds like it's going to stall over there. So now I want to just see the former Burrillville man. Federal judge in Arizona has ordered a former Burrillville man to return to Rhode Island, threatening a mass casualty incident at Gillette Stadium the weekend of Army-Navy. I don't know about this guy, Andrew Buchanan. I don't know exactly what his intent was, but we deal. Those of you that watch Road Patrol know we deal with a lot of those hoaxes. A lot. It's a major problem. I don't know exactly what was involved with that particular individual, but getting back to where would Rhode Island be if, in fact, if there is a recession? There are some businesses that are, I don't want to say recession proof, but just built to handle one better than perhaps some other states. I thought it was interesting when we had my friend Blake Filippi on, who I like a lot, when he talked about how when you have the ability, and we talk about this, when you have the ability to travel, you talk with people that visit Florida, and they see, as far as you can see, are cranes in the sky. And that's all private money. That's all private industry that is building everything. If you know of anyone that is, the state of Tennessee is absolutely on fire right now. And I mean business-wise. How strong is it? It's so strong in Nashville that even Memphis, Tennessee, and I've been to Memphis. Graceland is there. Memphis, which is right on the Arkansas-Mississippi border. Nashville is so strong that now Memphis is even rocketing. The state of Texas right now, anyone that has visited Austin, as far as you can see, you go to the downtown area, it's all cranes in the sky. It's all private companies building things. And then the same thing with the Carolinas. Folks, and then those of you that watch Road Patrol, when I'm out, and you don't see any cranes in the sky in Providence. You don't see them building anything. They can't even, think of this, they can't even get a company to bid to build the bridge because of all the provisions that are put in that make it impossible for private business to make money. Who would want to work? Would you want to work if you can't make money? The answer is no. McKee is so anti-business, and he's such a pawn to the labor unions. You know what else I wanted to mention was over the weekend when I was going to, I was at Federal Hill on Saturday, Don Jose's Tequila. And when I was going there, it was Saturday afternoon. And I don't even think the media, certainly down the dial, they don't talk about it. 195 because of 195, it was backed up all the way. 95 was backed up to the Cranston line, Roger Williams Park. And I immediately knew what it was. As soon as you got past to go 195, you cruise through 95 North. No one, it's so bad that no one even talks about it anymore. And certainly not the station down the dial, W. McKee RO. They don't even talk about it anymore. But folks, at least Massachusetts has Boston. So as much as, and Boston is thriving right now, and Boston is booming right now. But when you hear about markets tanking, and when you hear about recession, it's problematic. And what I'm telling you is, you do not have a state government. You don't have a state government that is built for this. And the way, something else that no one talks about is how McKee welcomes all the illegals to come in and basically continues to push us as a sanctuary state really into a welfare state. That's really what the push is. And when this thing collapses, these people are going to say, hey, you invited us here. You invited us to come in. There's another aspect of it that no one talks about, and I want to tell you about it. It's very important. But folks, I want to remind you about Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. Call them today. If you're having problems with your feet or your ankle, Greenville Foot and Ankle, 401-949-3220. 401-949-3220. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists, located right in the Smithfield Medical Center. Beautiful building, by the way, right on Route 5 in Smithfield. It's Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. They are board certified podiatrists. If you're listening right now on this Monday and you're having problems with your feet or your ankle, Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. They take all health insurance. They have 3 doctors, all board certified podiatrists. So whether it's skin conditions or bunions or hammertoe or plantar fasciitis or maybe fractures and sprains, Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists, right there in the Smithfield Medical Center, Route 5 in Smithfield. And they also have the digital x-ray right on site. Do not, listen to me, do not waste your money at some kiosk or pop-up store where they have some 23-year-old clerk in there who's then going to sell you $1,000 inserts. Call and make an appointment. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialist today. 401-949-3220. Remember, foot pain, it's not normal. I would talk about when I would go and cover the Karen Reed trial, I would see people that couldn't walk 50 feet. They had to stop and rest. Their feet were killing it. What is that? Folks, do something about it. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialist, 401-949-3220. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. And again, this Race for the White House update, it's brought to you by J. Perry Paving. The latest right now is the selection for VP seems to be down to the governor of Pennsylvania and the governor of Minnesota. So that's where it stands right now, the final 2. The Race for the White House, brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Call them. Get your driveway paved, 401-732-1730. Have you been thinking of getting, maybe you want your parking lot paved or your driveway paved? Letter J, J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. Free quote, free estimate, J. Perry Paving. And if you're a veteran, no one's better to J. Perry. No one is better. They have a special package for veterans. Call them for a free estimate, 401-732-1730. You can find them on Facebook and also online at letter J, jperrypaving.com. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Remember, you can always listen online at our website, which is depetro.com. But I want to touch on, with the economy starting to slow, and then maybe the state doesn't get the amount of federal money that they've been getting, right, under the Biden administration. As I have told you, Governor McKee does not have the state set up. They are anti-business. They're not friendly to business. They chase business out of the state. They allow the unions to go after these companies and chase them out. How bad is it? No one wants to build this huge contract on the bridge. But here's something that no one talks about, and it is the public schools, the Providence public schools. By the way, not just Providence. There are certain districts that have a high number of new arrivals in the districts, and that is Woonsocket, West Warwick, Providence, Pawtucket, Central Falls. Newport schools as well. So you could say 6. I'm not saying there aren't some other districts that have a couple here and there, but those areas really do. But if you just look at Providence, what no one talks about, first of all, the Providence test scores are a disaster because no one has the backbone, certainly not McKee, to take on the teachers' unions. But just to give you an example, and this is a story that it got very little to no coverage. You go back to 2018, 2019, when the Johns Hopkins report, this is important, hear me out, came out about the Providence schools. And if you look at 8th grade math, how many students, what percentage were meeting or exceeding expectations in math for 8th grade students in the Providence schools, okay? Only 7%. So they said, well, the state's going to take it over. We're going to do A, B, and C. We're going to turn this situation around. We're going to be at 50% are going to meet or exceed expectation. Ready? So that's the baseline. 2019, it was only 7% of students that were in 8th grade could do 8th grade math. Only 7%. So that means 93% could not do 8th grade math. Maybe they could do 7th grade math. Maybe they could do 6th grade math. Maybe they could do 5th grade math, but they couldn't do the 8th grade basic math. Only 7%. The state said, we're going to take over the school system, and it's going to be at 50% by 2024. And what's the number? 5%. It actually went down 5%. It was at 7%. They said we're going to increase it by 43% to be at 50%. It's at 5%. As far as 11th grade, the 11th grade numbers are higher because a lot of kids drop out that don't want to be there in 10th grade. So the numbers you really want to look at are those 8th grade numbers. 8th grade numbers. In 8th grade, 8th grade language, only 14% could read at 8th grade level. 14%. The state felt we're going to get it to 50%. It's stuck at 14%. There was no improvement in any way. As far as 3rd grade math, it was 17%. They wanted to get it to 55%. It's at 20%. And then 3rd grade English was at 26%. The state said, we're going to get it to 68%. It's at 19%. Here's the part that no one talks about. The percentage of those students that are illegals. No one highlights how much, and remember, the state of Rhode Island gives Providence $300 million a year for the Providence schools. So what's going to happen as the economy starts to tank? Or what's going to happen as you get, number one, if the economy's tanking, there won't be as much federal money anyway. But on top of that, you get a Trump presidency in there, and they're not going to just be cutting checks to the Providence schools. How much do illegals cost the taxpayers of Rhode Island? No one will answer that question. No member of the media will cover that. A safe estimate is the amount of pupils, the amount of cost of illegals in the Rhode Island public school system, which means we're paying for it in the different cities and towns. So you take the cost per pupil in Pawtucket, the cost per pupil in Central Falls, the cost per pupil in Providence, and then I'd say the higher districts are West Woonsocket and also West Warwick. So you take all those students' time. Hey, in Providence, each student costs $20,000. So do the math. I am telling you, the cost is probably around maybe more, $1 billion to educate all these illegals. And what are you going to do if the economy crashes? Or what are you going to do if suddenly the state's not getting all this aid? You invited all these people in here. Folks, the disaster of Governor McKee is only going to continue and get worse. Now, let's see. Eileen contacted me. She's thinking of getting a new kitchen and asked who did I recommend? Eileen, contact Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen. They have a beautiful state-of-the-art design center right in Warwick, Greenwich Avenue. Call them at 401-433-7272. Dreammaker Bath or Kitchen. It is remarkable. Remember, respect, integrity, customer focus. They take you from concept to completion and transition from dream to reality. Experience upgraded living with your bath or kitchen remodel today. Dreammaker, 401-433-7272 for Dreammaker. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can listen online at the website, depetro.com. So, the big news of the day, Harris, who is she going to choose as VP? Seems to be the governor of Pennsylvania or the governor of Minnesota. And then also the markets are having a tough Monday. Now, next hour on the radio show, Justin Katz, Politics This Week. You're going to want to hear this. It's all ahead. AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can listen online at the website, which is depetro.com. We have another full hour of the program. It's all ahead right here on the John DePietro Show.